Hello and welcome. This is the Loot Level Chat podcast. My name's Adam Cook and I'm your host to the Loot Level Chat podcast, and I'm joined by Steve Chambers.
Hello.
Chris Hyde.
Hello.
Mick Fraser.
Hello, mate.
And Lyle Pendle.
Hey there.
We are a video game podcast.
We'll nail it eventually. It's our first time. We've never done this before. We'll nail it eventually.
Not practice that.
No, I didn't practice that 4 times. Then I'll never do it again. Just for the record, I'll never do it again.
That's the end of that.
That is the absolute end of that, 100%.
Dead day one.
If you don't know us, we are here to talk about video games. We are a group of friends who've been doing video games sort of stuff, coverage in the media for a very long time. Never worked it out. Mick Chris, you're the maths man. Let's get that right out there. But Mick, you have the history in terms of hours as well and length. No, too many already. Length, too many.
Girth.
Right. Girth. I reckon if you combined all of us, we're talking. It's got to be 40 years of experience.
I'd say so.
More, maybe.
Maybe 40 to 50.
I've been doing it for 15 years. So.
Same, 15. So that's 30 between us. Anyway, the point I'm making is we're not new.
Long time.
But this
we
website
know stuff.
Is new.
We don't act like it, but we know stuff.
This website is new. We used to be on a different website, and now we're here. This is our website. We own it, and if you want to support that, and I'm going to have to do this nice and early, you can via patreon.com/lootlevelchill. Now, I know that if you're watching the video above me, it says Loot Level Chat, because that's the name of this podcast. We thought the best thing to do would be to confuse the living fuck out of everyone on the very first episode.
But mainly Adam.
I didn't come up with Loot Level Chat. I didn't come up with Loot Level Chill, Mick. No,
we're all happy to be here and we love each other to bits.
Just no comment from Mick, though. No comment on who came up with the...
It was a joint effort.
Yeah, we're a team and we work really well together.
As you can tell by this podcast.
It's high quality.
We are going to be doing things, a different kind of podcast if you have followed us in the past. And we're going to start off by talking about some news. Because why not? It's nice to talk about news, and not in terms of we're not going to be like breaking any news, because a podcast is something you can listen to whenever you want to listen to it, so it makes no sense to do that. But Mick and Chris Hyde, obviously Chris White is not with us. I do have a message from him that I will read at the end of the podcast. So you know,
he's still not dead, by the way. You always
he's still with us.
Like we've lost
he's still
Chris.
with us. Do stay with us for that. But you are both excited about a video game that I'm throwing to you for. Let's go to you, Chris, because I can't remember the name of it, actually.
Well, it's
Fallen Feathers? Something Fallen Feathers?
Wuchang, Fallen Feathers.
Not Wukong.
Not Wu-Tang either, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's really confusing because it's very similar and looks very similar because it's a ancient China Souls-like title that plays very similarly.
It looks like the Bloodborne to Wukong's Sekiro, if that makes any sense.
With a dash of Neo as well thrown in by the looks of it.
I think, I thought that. So it
looks darker.
The reason we're talking about it anyway is because they've released a new demo trailer. It's on the site. You can check it out. Please do. lootlevelchill.com. And
level plug.
Indeed. And these types of games, me and Mick still do love Wukong, and this feels similar. The vibe I get from it is I actually got Sekiro vibes a bit from what I've seen, and when you look at gameplay trailers as well from this game, because there does seem to be some sort of, less so from a parry point of view, but more from a, I guess I can't think of the right term, when you do enough damage you break the enemy. It's that kind of... Yeah,
it looks like it's got a stagger mechanic.
That's it, yeah. So it's
got
like
that visceral look from Bloodborne.
Yeah, which is, I guess, Bloodborne from that sense.
Fluids everywhere.
It looked darker, I thought. Like, my first impressions of it were it looked darker than Wukong.
Yeah, it's more... Well, I think the reason for the name, and because I've done, my due diligence of research of this game, because we're talking about it, the Fallen Feathers aspect, I think the feathering is like this disease, I think, that's taken over the world that you're in, and I think that's what sends it down the sort of dark, mystical kind of place where all these enemies look a bit weird.
A bit like the dragon rot vibes from Sekiro.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's I think.
And Wuchang is the protagonist. That's her name.
Wuchang is the name of the protagonist. Yeah, in terms of, and therein lies the reason for the entire title. But yeah, it looks very quick. From the combat that we've has been shown off so far, and like I said, it's hard not just from the name, but also from the the setting not to draw similarities from Wukong, given the is it the Qing dynasty? I want to say. I may be getting that wrong. One of the dynasties of China, anyway.
You researched this from what you just said.
I think it's the end of the Qing dynasty.
One that we always look at. It's like the Star Wars time period, but the Chinese.
Yes, exactly that. Despite the vast history of ancient China, everything happened in the same 5 years.
Millions of books written, but we're going to look at these 4 all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how this one progresses, because
I need to play it. It's one of those games.
This is the thing.
Because I was watching the trailer, because I also did some research, because I knew that Chris would, and I wanted to, this is important stuff. Yeah. So I also did research, and that I watched the trailer on the loo twice. And
that's pretty good.
Well done, mate. Twice.
And I think that the combat looks to me like, and it's early days, but it kind of looked to me like a lot of the time the enemies were going through the player's combos.
Yeah.
Now that could just be a player who's not sure what they're doing, and because it just so I know the devs should know, but sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they just play the game and they need the footage, or it's an early build or whatever. But it did kind of look like there were a few combos where the enemies were just ignoring it, and it drives me crazy when that happens. Especially
the combat certainly felt a bit more loose looking than a regular Souls game would.
Well, yeah, if it's a Souls game, you kind of don't want the enemies to be able to go through your combos willy-nilly. Do you know what I mean? It's but like I said, this is only based on what I've seen. I don't know.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because I was thinking about that, because you said about it, and I was just like, because it looks like there's both melee and ranged combat, and I think when you've got like stagger bars or whatever, and stagger, being able to combine that means you can still, I guess, build up that stagger from afar, because they can't hit you, if you know what I mean. And I guess in a game like that, if as soon as you hit something, it staggers them out of anything they were doing to you, then it would get incredibly simple as well. So I guess it's a balance where maybe some enemies do get staggered and some don't, and maybe that, it's all the poise mechanic stuff.
It's like Rise of the Ronin last year. That had it got knocked a little bit for the combat being too easy, but that was kind of what you said. If you time it right in that game, you can kind of pretty much deflect everything. And I know that's the point. Like, I guess you can in Sekiro as well, because that's what the game is all about. But it does kind of make it a bit easy when you've got all these tools. Yeah. So, and again, which is all speculation because we don't know, but it.
Well, that's the weirdest thing for me about this, is that I feel like they are I know why that the new trailer come out, but it's not like this game's been off the radar. But like at the same time, still no release date for it, is there? Apart from this year,
it's sometime? The year. That's all we've got. We've got this year of 2025. That's all we know.
Because you've also got that other Sony one this year, haven't we? That Phantom Blade Zero. That looks like it's going to be quite.
You've also got AI Limit in March.
Yeah, that's right. Very soon. And Yotai's this year, which is, and I know it's a different thing, but it's very similar in style.
Well, so they keep saying. They do keep saying it's this year, and I think it will be.
That's Japan, and this is China, so I'm not being ignorant, but
not on the first
combat
episode,
style.
Mate,
but the combat style
just
is what
Asian,
I'm saying.
isn't it?
Like it's just Asian combat in general. It's all the same from this tip to that tip. But yeah, it's I think it looks good, but it's one of those things where you're gonna have to play it. I'm hoping there's like a demo at some point or some preview opportunities.
It's all going to be about the feel in the hand, isn't
it? These sort of games, I think, live and die by it.
Really?
Might be a new name, but I'm still an absolute child. It is all about the feel in the hand, Stephen. You are quite correct. Listen, we're talking about trailers, so I want to bring in another trailer. Just because I think we can bring Lyle in a bit more, because there was a Pokemon showcase, wasn't there? And
it was Pokemon Day.
Maybe Pokemon Day. I'm sorry.
God, get it right. Jesus Christ.
I think that was a thing.
Yeah, it's every year. But like, so the Pokemon ZA is like the sequel to Arceus, or they I'm trying to think of it.
They've basically got like a different series. They've got like mainline Pokemon, which always introduce new Pokemon and sort of like does similar things. Although admittedly, Scarlet and Violet changed that up by adding lots of different things and then being a bit of a mess. Technically, anyway. But like has a lot
I'm
of
being facetious.
great
I never
things
played
about
it.
Yeah. But
the reason I bring it up, right, is because Arceus is probably my favorite Pokemon game. I think, like, it was so different, and for the first time, it really felt like you were catching Pokemon. Like, it felt like, you know how when you play Pokemon Go or something, and you actually have to do some action. This like, Arceus felt like that because you had to creep around and get a ball and throw it, and like they implemented almost like shooter-like controls with like left trigger to aim and throw the Pokeball. But it was something Steve said to me earlier on. Actually, when he watched it, Steve. So we'll throw it to you because you had a comment on how the game looked from what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very shiny and impressive for what I associate with a Pokemon game in my head. Assumptions being it's going to be Switch 2 primarily, I guess.
I think alongside the late 2025 date,
you kind of feel like it's got to, right?
Yeah,
like
it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels natural.
The timing suggests
both, I guess.
an
I would
early
imagine
release.
it would be both, wouldn't it?
Well, we don't know. This is the thing, and I wanted to use this to lead into. There's been a few leaks regarding the Switch 2. Like, we really. It feels like for a little while we felt like everybody knew everything about Switch 2. When you really think about it, when you see this trailer come out and you think, oh, that looks really great and it looks like it's running well, we actually look lovely. We actually don't know anything about the Switch 2 other than what we've seen in that trailer, and like, we don't know. You assume that games will be cross-generational because it would be crazy if they weren't. I mean, if they didn't.
I remember people jumping to similar conclusions when they saw Tears of the Kingdom for the first time, because that's witchcraft how good that looks on the standard Switch.
But what I'm saying is that like we're assuming that they will release games that like Metroid 4 will be on Switch and Switch 2. We're assuming that.
Yeah, I mean that's normally what Nintendo do, right? So Breath of the Wild was on both. You would assume games that are that close to the launch of the console, they would still support it on their old console, and it would get to a point where they would go, we are now just supporting this new current console with new releases, because you get to a point where you're like, I mean, Sony did it at the PS5. Their new games now come to PS5, and some of them don't go on the PS4. That's fine. We just accept
some still do though.
Some still do, but a large swathe of them don't now, and we just kind of accept it because it's the current gen.
It's few and far between comparatively now, isn't it?
So I do think that I would be given the base of the Switch, I would be amazed if it's not both, and I'd also be amazed if what you're not seeing, what you are seeing is not the Switch 2 in terms of
from what I've seen so far, it did not look like regular Switch.
And let's be honest,
not look current gen Switch.
I liked Arceus, whatever it's called. It didn't look great, particularly indoors and all that sort of stuff, and the buildings and stuff. Pokemon themselves looked okay. Some of the vistas looked okay, but some of the stuff like in houses and shit like that looked ropey as. And like, so if this, you kind of go, that was then well into the Switch's life, right, with Arceus. So you would say, right, okay, well then this probably feels like a new Switch, right? This is the Switch 2. The grunt behind that to get what we've got there, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I guess it begs the question then: launch title.
Well, have they revealed any? They've not revealed any specs.
They have revealed a rendered style video of the Switch 2, revealing
April
that
April is when we'll hit specs.
Yeah,
and we don't know how powerful it is. I presume they're going to bring it up somewhere. I mean, I imagine it's not going to hit PS5, Xbox.
So the rumors
of it being PS4 level, wasn't there?
PS4 Pro is the rumor.
That's Nintendo.
Yeah, which sounds
all
about
over,
right,
isn't it? That's
all over.
And let's not pretend that PS4 Pro games look shit. Right?
No, but
do you know what I mean?
The thing is I don't think Nintendo are ever gonna. And this is why I wanted to bring all this up, because I thought it'd be a good chance for the first episode to chat about Switch 2, because it's exciting, and it's coming this year. We know that.
You soon.
We know it's obviously they've gone for an evolution of the design. We know that it's all rounded and smooth. An interesting tidbit from these leaks, I don't know if you guys have seen this, is that apparently there are more. So at the back of the dock, the new dock, there are more sort of gaps in the material, obviously for cooling.
Yep.
And that's obviously important, especially when you're talking about powerful consoles. You know, that is a thing you need to do. The biggest thing about the Switch 2 for me, the most exciting thing is, and I can't take credit for this, is that we know from the trailer.
Build it.
The what? The most interesting thing for me is the mice. Like, that is going to make a console that has got. And now I've experienced a version of that, because the Legion Go, the Lenovo Legion Go, has a thing where you take the thing. It's a portable PC. Like a ROG Ally, like a Steam Deck. You take the controllers off the side, and you can basically, it's like a Switch in that. It was really clear at the time. It's like, yeah, you've seen the Switch and gone, well, no one's doing that. We'll do that. It's like, yeah, it's clever, great, good idea. Then you've just got a screen, and a nice big screen at that, a nice clear, pretty screen. It came with an attachment where you could get the I think it was the right, nice Joy-Con, but the right thing.
Lenocom.
Yeah, and you plug it into like a base, and that then became a mouse that you could use, and it had buttons on it. And it was like, it felt proof of concepty, because the format just didn't quite nail it. But like that's what you said it, Chris, in a chat off the podcast. So I'm not going to take your thunder, because you came up with the idea, so I'm going to allow you to do it. And then, because I haven't seen anyone else say this on the internet yet, and
I am pretty amazing.
Do it. Tell us what you think.
I was watching the video from the Switch 2 that we'd all kind of guessed before with the mice reveal, and I was like, for me, it's obvious they're going to do Mario Maker 3, but actually creating the levels is going to be with a mouse, so to be able to drag everything around the screen rather than with a bloody control stick.
Well, you wonder if they don't do Mario Maker 3, what are you going to use a mouse for? Like,
Mario Paint. Yeah, that's my second one. Mario Paint.
Music Maker one, the Return from the SNES.
I think
Mario
it's more
Paint.
than that. Like, now what you're going to be able to do
Splatoon aiming with a mouse.
But any
I've got them all, mate.
shooter,
honestly, if you're listening, Nintendo, this is what you need to be doing with your mouse utilization.
Shooter, now you can sit your Switch down at a dock at your monitor, as I'm looking at a computer monitor right now, and I now have a mouse that I can play my Switch on. So all of a sudden, you don't need to have a gaming PC to play mouse and keyboard. They'll bring out a keyboard attachment.
They'll bring out a keyboard attachment.
Of course they will, and they'll be.
Does that not feel like a bit of a niche one, though, in the fact that most people who would be into that already have that in their PC at home? So why would they apply that to their Switch?
But that's what I was thinking. I wonder why you would choose. If you've got a controller to play the shooter on the Switch 2, why would you choose to play it as with a mouse and keyboard?
It's all about. It's all about
options. I don't get that.
For me, it's all about options. Why would they not offer something? Right? Doesn't mean that everyone's going to buy it. But it's like
why they would do that. Like, even considering how big the Switch is in Japan versus probably PC gaming.
Oh yeah,
it just seems, because I know Nintendo always, whenever they release anything and whenever they release any console, they have something that they do something innovative, right? And that's I'm not knocking that, but they also have had their share of gimmicky stuff as well at the same time. So there's always a balance between whether it's just something. I mean, it's good to give people options.
But this is the point. It's not. It doesn't replace anything. This is the point.
No, and I think you're looking at it as a kind of what will it do for me thing, and it won't do anything for you because you have a nice graphics card on your PC. But if you think back to the original trailers when everyone made fun of it for the rooftop gaming shit, right? This mouse is not going to be something where you're like, I have to have a mouse mat to place it on. It has to be even. It's going to be it's going to be able to be something you can sit on with the lounge. Also, so you can now pull that out and suddenly you're playing a first-person shooter on the roof with your party of friends, and you've got the fidelity of a mouse instead of a controller. It's a great option.
Same rationale, why wouldn't they just make it so you can plug a mouse in? Because it has to be a Nintendo gimmick that you can do it with the controllers. Well, you could just plug a mouse in.
It's a portable gaming device that you literally the controller is a mouse.
Yeah, but you're not going to sit in a cafe, are you, and get a mouse out and a keyboard and set a PC up on your table?
That's exactly that. You're making the point. You don't need to. You've got a mouse on the side of your Switch too. You can just player that you can literally put the screen has a big stand on it. You put it on the desk. You don't need a big laptop on a mouse and a keyboard anymore. You've got it all there. I think it's.
You said about playing first-person shooters with a mouse. If you've just got a mouse, you're not going to get very far in a first-person shooter.
But you have another controller. The controller is for movement.
But then I would just have the controller in my hands. So why would I put a mouse down there?
Because a lot of people prefer playing first-person shooters with their right hand on a mouse rather than on a thumbstick because of the precision.
But then their left hand would be on a keyboard.
Well, it would be on buttons for WASD, wouldn't it? Like the right hand is the one that's moving around. The left hand is just on.
Okay. I don't want to be negative, and so I'm yet to be convinced. But it's good to have options. Let's just say. I just think it seems like I don't understand.
I think, to be fair as well, now's not the time that you're supposed to have been convinced because they've not really shown anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
So
it might do wondrous things, but you know.
Yeah. To be fair, this is all my wild machinations. None of this could be real.
No, but the second you said Mario Maker, it was like, you absolute ring sausage. How have I not thought of this before?
But that makes sense. That would make sense. That's what I said at the beginning. If they're putting a mouse option, surely they're going to bring these creator games to it because.
What was the one I reviewed it many in another lifetime? The Game Maker Garage.
Game Maker Garage.
Yeah. Like, that was actually a fantastic idea, and cool things were done, but it was hampered by the fact that you are using essentially. Do you know what? If nothing else, this might spell an end to my anger and frustration towards every game doing the fucking Destiny menus when there's 5 blocks on the screen. And
Nintendo has solved the Destiny problem.
Because I've got a mouse now. Right, fine, I'll just get this out. I'll unplug it just for the bloody every time I have to use a menu.
But that RPG Maker, that would benefit hugely because a lot of people said, I want to play this on PC and then I'll make an RPG.
Also,
because on the Switch,
thing
it's fucking impossible.
How many games have you played like on PC, indie games, especially indie games, where you're like, I'd love a console version of this. It just isn't going to work. Chris Hyde, Satisfactory, we've mentioned this before. We both love that game, but we're both like, it's coming to console. It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle it. If the Switch 2 can handle games like that, and it's got a mouse on it, the porting process suddenly becomes a whole lot easier for a whole lot of developers.
It is true. I've got a question then. If that is the big innovation for the Switch 2, is that enough? Or was there something still hiding behind the scenes?
I think that's a really unfair question because the innovation from Nintendo has always been partially hardware, partially the first-party games.
It's the software. I think a lot of the things. The reason why I said it is for me is because I actually, if they did everything I said, right, with Mario Maker and Mario Paint, I'd probably still be buzzing for Metroid and Mario Kart more because they're my type of games. The software for me is going to be the thing that gets me buzzing about this. And that's what I think we'll see in April.
And I think the fact they showed a Mario Kart of some description and not an Odyssey. And I know it's a personal thing for me because I've got the Mario Odyssey art book and I was just looking for it the other day and it just I shouldn't have done it. I messaged you guys when I was looking through it and I shouldn't have done it because I was just sat there going for it going, oh, God, what a video game. And I just wanted more of that video game.
But like, it's unbelievable.
I just thought it'd be worth having a Switch 2 chat because it's coming soon. You know, the time people hear this would be in March. That's a month away from the big reveal. We assume we would have to think there will be software. I mean,
hey, you might see a Monster Hunter return to a Nintendo console if it's got a bit more oomph in it. Would be a long time, homecoming.
Well, Monster Hunter, let's be fair, we're going to be talking about that, so we may as well move into it, but it's a great segue. But like with Monster Hunter, you got to remember, Nintendo made that franchise, really, in terms of numbers. It only...
100%.
It's a Nintendo franchise. It's this... Monster Hunter Wilds.
It did big numbers on PSP originally in Japan, but as soon as you wanted it in the West, it was Nintendo that did it.
I mean, I know we got Rise, and that was only a couple of years ago, but that never felt... I mean, that always feels like almost a spin-off, like because Wilds has gone straight back to World again, so it's kind of left Rise in its own
two teams, isn't there?
It's the portable format versus sat in front of the big screen, isn't it? It's the difference there.
It's I mean, we're going to get into what we've been playing now because we've done a bit. We're not going to be covering like hours again. I won't explain this every week. We're not going to be covering hours and hours of news every week. Just some stuff that's taken our our imaginations and stuff that we want to talk about. Techno-fancy.
Basically stuff that Mick watches on the toilet each week.
Yeah, yes. Twice. But we are moving into the what we've been playing thing, and Monster Hunter Wilds is a thing that most of us have been playing. Who wants to... who wants to talk about it? Who wants to start talking? Who wants to say what they feel about this?
I always feel like it should be the reviewer.
Perfect.
Well volunteered there, Mick.
Okay. It's good, isn't it? Over to you, Steve.
It's real good.
Yeah, it's all right. I put a couple of hours in. What do you think, Chris?
No, it is. Yeah. So
he didn't want me to speak. Nah, fuck. I'll have it back.
Well, yeah. I thought, to be fair, we don't want to be putting each other on the spot. Look, Monster Hunter Wilds. I know Lyle has dabbled. I don't think he's a big fan, which is fine.
But that's fine. Yes, we don't.
Me and Lyle agree on a game this early in the year. I think the oceans will rise, and
it's like Armageddon.
Exactly. So yeah, but the rest of us though have. I think I've put now about 75 hours in.
Just a little bit, then.
Since we started reviewing it, because we had it a couple of weeks early. We did get it early, thanks to Capcom, and it allowed us all to sort of dive in.
If you're gonna do that, can you like go full YouTube for me like there? If you're gonna thank the publisher on the pod, can you like properly YouTube it up? Like,
what does that mean?
You have to start crying.
Thanks, Capcom. I haven't got a copy of the game to show.
For starts, you have to look directly into camera, sincerely thank them. Can you cry on command? Just one tear? Just get emotional about it. You're so.
I can get real smouldery though.
Ooh. That's not
do blue steel.
No, in all seriousness, I'm joking. That is one thing I do want to shout out.
People are not ready for that, mate.
People have been so supportive, and thank you very much. If you
that is very important, because this is
should have said at the start.
Yeah, I mean it did. You know, we had a couple of people sort of, how have you guys got this? How have you guys got?
Oh yeah, but we had that. We had that before, so that's nothing.
And you know, we did used to get it a lot, but you know, it's because we've had some good support from people. And you know, for example, Capcom. So we did get a couple of copies of it, and we were able to play it early and bring you the review. And I'm glad we did, because it's a big game. Monster Hunters are always Monster Hunters are always big games, aren't they? Like they're always it's always a lot to get into. And Wilds is no exception. But I think the thing that stood out, I think, for everybody, you know, right at the beginning, was how accessible they've made it. So, like, they're not just in terms of difficulty, which I could sit here, and Chris and Steve could probably quite easily sit here and say, "Oh, it was quite easy," because we've got probably collectively thousands of hours in the franchise. Almost. Yeah, and
the way you just rolled your shirt up, then.
Did you?
I'm kind of a big deal.
Oh no! Yeah.
Did you just refer to yourself?
You said it, mate, not me.
As a veteran of a video game, like with a straight face.
Yeah,
they are. To be fair, they're a different breed.
Between me and Mick, we put way too many hours into this game overall. Yeah. As a series, it's ridiculous.
But I mean, that's testament to the games, isn't it? Because they're all like, they haven't done a bad one since. Well, I don't know if they've ever done a bad one. I didn't really start playing.
It's arguable they never have. Yeah.
So I've never really had a bad experience with a Monster Hunter. Ever, but this one was just like, and I'm not, like I said, not just in terms of difficulty, because it's hard for somebody who's been playing these games for so long to say whether it's actually easy or hard, because certain monsters that you've killed 500 of in World and then Rise, and then you like you come onto Monster Hunter World and it rocks up and you go, really? Okay, and it's over in minutes. So like and that's not a fault on the game. There's muscle memory to these things, and I think also that's kind of like, it's kind of testament to Capcom, or maybe it's Capcom's fault. It depends which way you want to look at it. But very little has changed in the monster design. So, you know, if you go to like Gravios, I think it's been in it since the beginning, Rathalos, Raytheon, these monsters that have been in it for literally 20 years now, since the first game, there's not that much different in the movesets. If you go back and watch like footage of the original games, it's the same monster. It's the same. And I'm not calling that. That's not me going to Capcom user saying.
No, do you know what though? That is interesting. There's part of me that really likes that. Like because
it always feels like evolution.
Every game, and it's sad. I know it's sad, but I look forward to my first Rathian fight every single new game. Yeah. I know exactly what I'm getting. but I look forward to it every single time because it's one of those.
It's not like they've just
it's nostalgia powered, isn't it?
No, that's what I mean. It's not. That's not what I'm saying. It's not a lazy job, but it's an evolution every time. They have to make it look
better each time as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it, it has to feel like Rathian.
Right,
do you know what I mean? And
you'd be fuming if you went in. The moveset was completely like, what is this? This is not what I expected.
What I wish Capcom wouldn't do, though, if I'm honest, and I think a lot of people will probably agree with me. I wish they wouldn't show all of the monsters prior, because every Monster Hunter you get this, and they'll do the same. I know they'll do the same when the Master Rank expansion comes, which will probably be this time next year, whenever that is. But every Monster Hunter game it's such a potluck draw of what monsters you're going to get. You're going to get a healthy handful of new things you've never seen, and then you're going to get those favourites that they drop in. And you're going to be
honestly, really that's the interview question I'd love to ask them.
Yeah, I wish they would just hold back.
Why do you pick? Because the thing I don't often notice stuff, but the thing I pointed out that I'd noticed, especially from like World, was how few watery based monsters there are in Wilds. Like that. You can swim in Wilds, which is wild.
I would be shocked with Duna, the big water monster in Wilds. I'd be really shocked if like a version of Chameleos or something doesn't turn up in the expansion, or because it's the same skeleton, I think.
Just on your point around the reveals, I was really shocked, like, because it's literally in public domain. You go on the website and it's literally a section called returning monsters. Like,
I think there were 4 or 5 that they didn't announce.
Yeah, there was a couple of secrets, but a lot of it was like, ironically, I think Rathian was one of them. But like Rathalos was front and center, and it's like I felt like I don't know, maybe Capcom didn't think. They felt like they had to build hype by telling people these are the returning monsters.
But they really don't have to build hype for this franchise.
You want those surprises, don't you?
Yeah, and I hadn't. I'll be clear. I hadn't actually looked at the Capcom website until I'd put like 30, 40 hours in. So that didn't surprise me. But that's because we got it earlier and everything. But like, it does surprise me that like there doesn't feel. I felt like they must have felt the need to share it to kind of build up excitement by telling people this is what you will get, rather than letting the surprise be the draw. Do you know what I mean?
Is it not more to assuage people and the type on the internet who were starting to moan about, I bet they haven't got this one, and I bet they haven't got this one.
But there'll always be that at the start.
Also, Monster Hunter games get data mined to fuck before release. Like, as soon as anybody can get
on like PC
as soon as the beta's out, people are in it and they're data mining and they're looking for scraps of info. And I mean, and then the leaks come. So maybe Capcom are just trying to
be on the front foot with it.
But not to veer us or sort of veer this train back towards the game itself. Like, I do think it's worth mentioning. Like, I like the series. This is the first one I've ever played where I'd personally give it a 10 out of 10. And I think that's quite a statement from me, because I think the series has always had issues, and I think it's the most accessible it's ever been. I think it's the best combat, personally, that I've had in one. And it's still Monster Hunter. Like, that's the one really important thing that should anybody be sat there going, and it is really easy to get caught up in the hype of a game this big. Really easy to be like seeing all your mates talking about it, looking on your PSN or Xbox list, and everyone's playing it and go, I hate this series, but it is still Monster Hunter. It's a more cinematic Monster Hunter when it comes to the storyline. Like, this game starts in a cinematic way. Everything about it is cinematic. Looks great on PS5 Pro. Just for what it's worth, it's one of the PS5 Pro games it's up there with like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where you're like, wow, this really significantly better on this system than the base model. But like, it is still Monster Hunter. And yet I still think it's probably the best one I've played. So
I think.
Sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, I think I do want to touch on the accessibility bit, the difficulty side of the accessibility piece.
Yes,
because I do think, what it really succeeds in doing is, and to be honest, at the detriment of the survivability of the monsters themselves, who get absolutely decked. It feels. I was reminded a lot more whilst playing this, is like, it's the power fantasy. It's like Jedi Survivor. When you're a Jedi, you just decking shit out of everything because you're suddenly this master ninja gymnast assassin thing. And like, quite frankly, I've been playing this for 55 whatever hours, 60 hours, whatever it is. Every time I spin down the arse of a monster, I feel fucking fantastic. And I've done that a million times because I'm that 100%. Good. And I get that some people, some veterans of the series, or not you two, but some people will say,
talking about you,
it's nice to be recognised as it, but
some people will go,
Lyle.
oh, yeah. Some people might go, I'd prefer it if it was, a bit harder. Well, fucking cart then. I don't give a shit. Like
you can make it harder if you want.
We're going to get that as well, almost as a given that is going to happen later on. We're going to
get harder. Exactly that. And I just feel like. Let's not pretend that there's no challenge in here, and let's not pretend that the later monsters can't hit you like a truck. And if you don't concentrate, you'll still get wiped.
And you get railed still, even when you've been putting the hours in. We have.
It's just there is an element to it where it probably does feel like, someone that maybe in other titles, maybe I don't know, struggle to get to the high rank, might get there easier and carry on. And do you know what? That's fucking fantastic, because then more people experience more of the game. And I mean, I've never been one of these people that's like, oh, this Souls-like should be this difficult, because I don't think it should.
Let's not do that.
No. So I just feel like, yes, this is I'd say the so far with the content that it has, which is the massive caveat that it should be, because it will get harder challenges in the future.
This is the point, though, isn't it? Like
the base games are always easier. If you're going back to your memories of Rise and World, that will be with the added challenge levels that comes with the expansions and the later monsters. So if you're going to compare that to a base game, just know what you're comparing it to. But you know what? It's fun. It's fluid. Fun? It's so much fun with in a party. You can. I feel like more than any other game in Monster Hunter series that I've played, the kind of teamwork aspect introduced by the wound mechanic.
And synergies between weapons too.
Yeah, and the fact that you can have two weapons, I think it just creates so much more fluidity, tactical play. We're all shouting out about, there's a wound on its arse. Go and do that.
I want to talk about something you just mentioned. Actually, I want to talk about the fact. Sorry, Mick. Sorry. I just want to mention the fact that you can carry two weapons. The fact you can carry two weapons is kind of incredible, because I don't know how you guys play. I know Steve plays hammer. I know Steve plays hammer
a little bit.
But what I mean is by allowing you to have a second weapon, there's something happening in this game I didn't realise was happening at first. I would normally find a weapon, I would enjoy it, and I stick with it, and that's it, because I find that weapon and I'm used to it. Because I know that's you, but because you got a second weapon, you can now go against a monster, any monster, with trying out a new weapon, and you can get good with it or not. But you can also then just go, I'm just gonna fucking switch back now because this doesn't feel right. That is a massive change, even if it doesn't seem like one.
Pull out your horn, heal everybody, go back to spin.
It's also placed the idea of
let me speak.
That was deliberate, though.
You can do the environment sharing. So basically, you can group up with 3 other mates and share a single instance of the world. So you can go off there, wander around, and find monsters as a group. Now you don't know what you're going to run into. So you might go, first of all, normally in older quests, you go, right, this is vulnerable to fire, this is vulnerable to thunder, whatever it might be. If you're out there wandering around, you don't know what you're about to run into. So having 2 options on the fly is perfect and plays into that so well. So you're just like, okay, I've got this option if I run into X, or if I'm caught on the back foot, I'll pull this out instead.
Yeah, no, it is good for that.
I think the thing that with this...
Sorry, can I just say something? No, from it. I'm joking. You can literally go now.
The thing about Wild is that... Well, no, could you keep fucking losing the fucking point? I've lost it now.
No. You know what? I'm so happy because, the amount of times that you guys do that to me, I'm so happy I managed to do it to someone else.
My point to the difficulty was, what I was going to say earlier was that it's all like there's a lot of people that are complaining, oh, this is, it's a bit too easy. This monster died in 2 minutes. They need to do this. They need to do that. I think people forget that Capcom have been making this particular franchise for 2 decades, right? They know how these monsters move. They know how players are going to counter them. They know how you're going to do it, right? Even if they didn't know it from their own testing, which is extensive, and the betas and alphas and preview events, even if they didn't have that, they'd have YouTubers and certain channels that do speed runs of monsters, and they show Capcom exactly how the player is going to exploit all these things, and Capcom can go, right, I'll make sure that they can't do that. Everything, all this difficulty or perceived lack of difficulty is deliberate. Like Capcom have done that deliberately. They wanted to make a game that brought more people in. It may well be when Master Rank drops, it's gonna be harder. It always is. That's why it's Master Rank. I think it will skyrocket. But I think Capcom are trying to get more and more and more people now who can just go in and have a really good time. There's such a low barrier of entry now, and that's what pisses veterans off. That's what pisses off these people who are like, well,
I hate to say it, but like this is probably not the podcast for you if you're new to us. But like the elitism is not something you're going to hear and like so I because again, Mick, you've just nailed it for me. Like you're talking about a series that has had fucking movies made about it now. This is not anyone's dirty little secret anymore, and the secret game that they import from Japan and play. This is not that anymore. This is a massive franchise. And if you want to
fuck off and play the first 3 and see how you do, because it's a completely different.
You'll know about it, won't you? For sure.
I just don't like that thing of like, oh, my favourite band have got massive now, and it's not really for me. And do you know what? Then you never loved them, did you? You never did.
Talking of the difficulty, it's going to be a case of, we know it's coming as obviously a Master Rank at some point, but they're already talking about in Update 1, there's going to be harder monsters. That promise is already made now, and that's due for April.
That news was odd to me, because they also mentioned like the Gathering Hub, and I don't really feel this game needs it. Like,
no, I agree.
It doesn't need it. I'm happy that it's going to be coming, because I just like it as a concept.
Yeah.
And maybe that is a bit of nostalgia play for me, because I'm so used to it being there.
We were trying to do training stuff, like you were trying to show me the charge blade, and we couldn't. I wonder if maybe there'll be the equivalent. You can do that stuff in the Gathering Hub, perhaps. I don't know. It's difficult to know. The wording of that update details weren't.
Even if we can just go back to sitting around eating meals together and doing arm wrestling, it'll be nice. It's a fun little diversion from the other bits.
No issue.
Not that you need it.
No, I mean. We're not deliberately shutting Lyle out, so to speak, but he isn't a big fan of the series. Lyle, is there anything about the sort of new game that you know?
I liked. I got quite far into Rise, and I didn't feel quite as much the need this time. It didn't really work for me the same. I don't know if the structure being different was something, or what aspect of it was, because I didn't like. I think I saw credits in Rise, but I think that's quite early on that can happen.
You still played quite a bit at that point, though.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I think I don't know. Maybe the handheld nature helped with that too.
Yeah,
maybe the structure stuff like that. It just didn't grab me as much this time. But there's enough to play in there.
Well, if there's anything you'd like to ask a veteran, I'm here for you. So
yeah, thank you very much.
And if there's anything you want to ask a real veteran, Mick's here for Steve to ask as well.
Yeah, ask Steve which is my email out of Rathian and Rathalos, and then see. Yeah.
I've been poorly. My brain doesn't work. Look, I'm even poorly now.
Bavaria.
By the way,
that wasn't a bottle of HP sauce.
Imagine if it was. Is anything else anyone wants to say about Wilds before we start? Because I feel like we should ask Lyle what he wants to talk about, what he's been playing as well, because it does feel a bit. But I don't want to stymie the discussion of Wilds. But
no, I think we've covered it. Haven't we?
Really good.
It's really good.
Right,
it's really fun. We know stuff about it. We can name at least 4 monsters.
I think
Steve you can. Steve struggles.
To check the carriage and see.
No.
Steve, name 4 monsters. Go. 1. Name 4 monsters. Steve.
There's a lot of systems in there that could put people off traditionally, like with the armor sets and building weapon trees and things. Even that's been simplified now. It gives you recommended items. So if you look at it and go, I don't know where to start, you don't have to unless you want to get into that. You could run through the game 2 credits on recommended items.
You don't have to like build each bit of the tree, do you? You can just get them all, and then it will just build it all for you and stuff like that. Yeah, it's
so if you don't know what armor set to use, we'll just click recommended and keep going. It'll carry you through.
Yeah. Same with the meal stuff as well. Obviously, a lot of it's like that, but you don't have to do. Again, there's still depth there, like a lot of depth. You know, I now want to make a weapon that just paralyzes everyone because, like,
inspired by Chris.
There's
a couple of things that I wish they'd carried in that they didn't know, like the companion system. The support hunters, and I know that it's just there. It's brilliant, right? If you can't play online, or you haven't got anybody around, or you don't like playing with random. Some people don't like playing with random people. Some people have a bit of anxiety with Monster Hunter because it's a game that has been around for so long that newcomers, particularly, might feel like, do I want to play with randoms when I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this weapon?
I mean, I feel like you know, I'm worried I'm going to get shouted at because I just don't know as much as you guys.
But you're
not,
now,
obviously.
You can play offline now, pop an SOS, and it gives you the AI support hunters. But the thing I wish they'd done is carried the system from Rise a little more wholesale, because in Wilds you've got, I think it's Olivia, Alessa, and Rosso, and you've got a hammer hunter, and they're all cunts. You got a hammer hunter, a lance hunter, and a heavy bowgun hunter, and that's what they always are. They always do the same things, and they do wonderful things. They keep you alive. They'll mount the monster. They'll do all those things that another player would do. They'll do call outs for you and all this sort of stuff. Great, but I liked it in Rise that it was a little bit more malleable. Like if you were going in with, like if you were playing with a friend, you were dual blades and the other guy was hammer. You wouldn't necessarily want another hunter there with a hammer or dual blade, so you could give the support hunter a different weapon. You could say, right, you bring charge blade or you bring lance, and you can't do that in Wilds. And that to me is a little bit of a shame. And I also like that you could get all of their armor in Rise, like, because I like the fashion hunter stuff, and you could get everybody's armor.
Not being held back for later
on.
It
might be coming later. Those kind of things, could be coming later, like in terms of armor set.
Because there's other named hunters wandering around that don't do anything. I said to you, didn't I, Steve? Like there's one or two named hunters that sit at camp, and you can talk to them when you can't even talk to Olivia, who comes on hunts with you. But you can talk to Griffin, who just says, I miss home. And it's like, what's he say? Is he there for a reason? Why has this guy got random lines of dialogue?
It's sad.
It's very strange.
I mean, it could be something to be looking forward to as we get the expansion news, which, you know, it's probably 12 to 18 months away for a guess, assuming it is coming.
Probably say 12 at least, yeah.
So all of this might be null and void in 12 months' time. Actually, it's all been brought in now. It'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Well, they're bringing a Gathering Hub, aren't they? The Gathering Hub is coming as a title update, so who knows what is planned for further title updates?
Yeah, when you were taking a dump, we were talking about that,
which is a perfect segue.
It's Lyle.
Lyle,
there's Lyle.
Lyle, what have you been playing, mate? What do you want to talk about? There's not Monster Hunter.
Yeah, well, I guess I haven't been playing this while taking a dump, so I feel the segue's a little bit off. I know. I've been playing this like off the toilet. My off-toilet game of the moment is probably Avowed, to be honest. I think I have been having a great time with Avowed because I like. I wouldn't say that the big open world RPG is something I usually associate with my tastes, but but in general, I've been a big fan of Skyrim and I've played a lot of Skyrim over the years. So the right sort of big fantasy RPG certainly works for me. And what I really love about Avowed is it's kind of sort of on that line, but with really, really good, modern, exciting combat that always feels good to do. And with a world that's split up a little bit, so you don't have to worry about it being quite so fucking massive. And I love that. I think that's great.
I need to get this game in my ass. I need this game. I haven't played it.
I mean, most people say in their life, but fair enough.
Yeah, no. Do you know what? Like, I love Wilds. It's fucking incredible, and it's sucking my time. I'm
sucking something.
But like, I've missed Avowed. I haven't played it, and it's on Game Pass now, and I need to somehow find another 40 hours, 50 hours. I don't know how long.
This is the thing, right? And I agree with Lyle, because it is portioned up in a way that games like this, I feel like the Skyrims of the world, the games like that, you tend to go, right, well, I'm going to have a go on this now, so let's just black out 2 hours of my calendar because that's the minimum I'm going to need with this right now. I've literally fired this up, played 25 minutes just before dinner, just for a quick go on it, because the combat is so Moorish. The way the world is split into, like, I mean, How would you call it? Because it's not open world, Lyle, is it? But it is. But
it's like many smaller open worlds.
What's the term they use for that? Sonic Frontiers. And everyone laughed about it. When Sonic Frontiers, they said
open zone.
Yes, that's what it is. It's open zone. Like it's different zones. Yeah, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like Stellar Blade did the same, and Wuchang, I guess, did similar.
Is it like Rebirth?
Yes,
kind of. Yeah, you go to a new place,
but it's a big place to explore.
Yeah, and every new area's got its own self-contained side quests. And towns and cities and enemies and
bounties, all sorts.
Bounties are great.
I just feel like everyone that plays it says Skyrim at me. And
I think it's better.
It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I just why am I?
I don't think it's better than Skyrim, but it's definitely a modern version of what Skyrim was.
It's like a streamlined Skyrim, and
that's what I love. That's what I love about it. I love
it's Outer Worlds. It's the Outer Worlds fantasy version. Is basically what I got.
I think it's even more streamlined than that myself. I think.
But that's really... Obsidian as well, isn't it? That's that flavour.
They're making a sequel to that, aren't they?
Yeah,
but I just love the way it's so streamlined. Not just I love the way the combat is what you want it to be. You could play it as a shooter, but you could play it as an old-fashioned. Like I fell in love with a fire sword really early on, to the point where no, I need to try out these guns. I keep finding guns and giant axes. I want to see what they're like, and I was like, oh, that's actually quite interesting. And I finally switched to a two-handed sword that I got from off the beaten path down by a shoreline somewhere in the second area. There's this weird skeleton who says, "Oh, do you want to test yourself?" And I'm like, yeah. That was a bloody hard fight, but I got his sword at the end of it all, and I felt a badass for doing it. I was hanging by the skin of my teeth, but got that sword, and it's way more powerful, and it's two-handed, which is well, I haven't got a shield anymore, but it's so much more powerful and so much more fun that now I'm going around just smashing people up. And it's not even just the combat, the movement of this game.
Oh, it's so good.
The parkour is smooth.
It's it's basically got first-person parkour. You can just go up all these surfaces. Every time you move from one ledge to another, it's so streamlined, so smooth, it just feels amazing to do so. And it makes getting around this world, which, by the way, this world that you're exploring, you're having fun getting around, also fucking beautiful. Completely
the second area,
so colourful and so full of life in ways that you just don't really expect from open world fantasy. It's not just the same old biomes, it's not just the same old style, it's everything. It feels like everywhere you explore is just so perfectly curated to be there are moments where I'll just walk through an archway and be oh, it's I'm in a painting suddenly, and it just that happens.
Did you do the treasure? Have you done any of the treasure maps, Lyle?
I did one of them, yeah.
Because I found the treasure maps. The treasure maps were really cool, because I'd look at the treasure map and I'd go, I have no fucking idea where that is, because it's one of those things, Chris, where they do a sketch on a bit of paper.
Oh,
and an arrow with an
or something like that.
And it's and it's somebody's sketched the view of something. Yeah. And you're walking around, and I was like, I'm never going to find this, because there's no clues. It's not like it's in this part of the map, or it's just that picture. But then you you walk around for a bit and you kill a few monsters and you turn around and you go, fucking hell, that's that fucking.
Yeah.
And it's got that kind of.
It feels amazing.
Yeah,
I definitely need to find more of them. Yes. It's also, as well as the world itself as well, I really with it being a big RPG, you talk to a lot of people, and I just even just talking to the characters. It's got great dialogue. It's
a lot of dialogue, by the way. Wow, how much dialogue in this game.
And then it's got the whole thing where you can choose certain conversation options based on your character, so based on where you've put your stat points and stuff. And I've made my character a real fucking idiot, because I'm not using magic, so there'll be conversations where there'll just be 3 blanked out statements at the top where it's you're too stupid to know what to say here, so you're just oh, I don't know. And it just
you've got the grunt option.
Yeah, I'm just grunting my way through, shooting with my little pistol, having a blast.
I think the combat is really clever. Not to go back to it too deep, because I know I don't want to, go around in circles. But I know there's more Skyrim comparisons, but the way they do the hands is very similar to Skyrim. And I don't mean the way you see them. I mean, like, you know, in Skyrim where left hand does this, right hand does this. If you want to put a spell in that hand and a sword in this hand, or a crossbow in that hand and a shield in that hand, you can do that in Avowed. And it does this really cool thing with, like, spells come from a book. So if you get specific books, and each book will have its own set of spells. So you get like a fire book and you get a poison book, but then you also get a book with a load of different spells in it or random stuff. You have to level up your mage class and your stats in order to use those spells. But basically, once you've got a book in your hand, you've got a spread of spells. But that's just that hand. And then you can have like a wand.
I didn't twig that at first. I thought you had to have the wand in your hand. It was only like, I'm trying this gun quickly just to see what it does. I'm like, wait, I can still do spells.
Yeah, because I would have the book. I played with the book. So you have two weapon loadouts as well that you switch between. So I would have the book in one hand and a pistol in the other hand.
See, I was book and wand, like I said, I just thought that's what you had to do.
Yeah, I did for a while, but I really like the pistol mechanic when you stagger an enemy and you do that, like the slow mo. Because I played a lot in third person, which is really clumsy for the parkour, but I really enjoyed the combat in third person because it's got these little cinematic flourishes. But like, when you've got like the pistol, you would when you do the critical hit, I guess, when you've wounded a monster, it would go into slow motion and go into like a third person shooter over the shoulder cam and do this big hit. And then when you've got a sword, you do a little flourishy like finisher move. And I would like, but then I struggled to just pick a weapon because they all felt really good. Like I switched to a two-handed weapon, then I was like, no, now I want to try an axe, and then I found like a spear, and that was fun. And it was like this, the combat's really quite clever, and there's so many options.
I'm getting lured into giving it a go. I wasn't intending to, but you've taught me into it now.
I have to at some point. I have to find the time machine already.
Yeah, it's already.
I can't not. This has got me written all over it. I can't not play it.
It's so fun. It's so full of heart. I have one small thing I love, which is totally unrelated to the game being in any way good. But anytime you jump off a ledge that's too high, you let off a blood-curdling scream. And if you do that into water, it just makes you sound like your character will just scream right as they're about to hit the water. And it's brilliant. Just completely really over to the top. I'm going to die, but by diving.
There's very little I don't like about this game. Like, the only thing I don't like about it is the most weird anal kind of complaint.
There's no anal in the game, I know.
No, it's dreadful for that. I mean, no, it's
you haven't picked the right dialogue options.
Well, let's find out a little bit about each other in this. Let me just ask you this question. So, are any of you able to cope with menus that have like little dots on them telling you there's something new and that maybe lore?
Fucking hell!
So
drives me crazy.
Are any of you able to just be like, no, I'll leave it? Anyone?
Yeah.
Like, you can go
down every single.
You've got to go and clear them every time.
Absolutely. And so when a game does this and it gives you that button, it says like press Y to just clear everything, and you're like, oh god, game of the year right here, lads. This one not only doesn't do that, it fucking updates them for everything. So like, say you finish a quest, the quest gets a new dot on it in the segment of completed quests that you never need to go in ever. No one ever does. Yeah, and I'm like, that is, and my god, talk about.
It's the best bit about Veilguard was when I could say, "Fuck off everything."
Everything.
That's the best bit.
It's like nitpicking.
I did have a bit of an issue with some of the difficulty gradients.
It is weird,
because there were times when, like, I was playing through it and I found like, because we had like the deluxe version, so you had like the free armor that you put on and it gives you like a boost, and I started using that for a bit. And then I upgraded, I found like a unique sword, and it was really cool. It was like a fire sword. Then I found an ice axe, and then I had a unique pistol. I had all these unique weapons. But within a couple of sort of hours of play, I couldn't dent the enemy. And your companions, which they've toned down now in an update, but your companions would constantly tell you your shit. Like every time you do, it would be like your weapon's
not Monster
really
Hunter Wilds then?
Yeah. Like it would be like your weapon's not really making it, or that armor's no good. And it would be constant. Your weapon needs an upgrade. Yeah, I fucking know. But like, I found that like sometimes I would be fighting enemies, everything's fine. Then all of a sudden in the same area, it would just be like, I can't fucking do a single thing to this enemy. And I struggled a little bit with getting the upgrades, because the upgrade materials you can scavenge, but you need a lot, and you can buy them, but you don't make a lot of money in the game. And so like a lot of the time it was like, well, if you want this material, you're going to have to break these weapons down. But I was like, but they're unique. Like I
never had
you
to
don't
do
get
that.
rid of unique weapons.
I have not broken a single unique weapon down.
No, I haven't, because I refused to.
Right.
So it took me longer to gather the materials to upgrade everything. So I did have a little problem with some of the difficulty, because I would be playing fine, and then if through no change, through like I'm leveling up, I'm putting points into things, I think. And I said it in the review, I think there's a little bit too much, and this is silly because a lot of people will go, well, you obviously not, but it seemed to me that there was a little bit too much freedom and not enough. Like sometimes I want a game to be able to say to me, right, you've got that skill, so these would be the ideal skills for you to go to, but you don't have to if you don't. Whereas this game was just like, pick whatever you want. So I was like, there's a skill there.
I had that in the second area where I went into what I thought was like, do this now. Because it's a story quest. I think what the game wants you to do is not just go mainlining story. And interestingly, I went into this fight and it was against...
But I was rinsing side quests and I still
This is the thing. So I was like, I'm just going to push on a bit now because I'm never going to finish this if I don't go. And I went into this boss fight and I got my ass kicked. And the save... So this particular boss fight, the area closes in around you. It is a story mission, so I'm not going to go any more on that. And when it reloaded me back from my death... I was in that area with it locked around me, and I was like, oh, shit. So I had to actually load an autosave from earlier. Now, I haven't had that happen in a game for quite a while, and it's kind of odd because everything about this game feels super modern to me, but that was like, has something gone wrong with the checkpoint here? Because you should checkpoint me before I'm locked into the boss arena, not afterwards. Now, I never had it any other point in the game, so maybe it's one particular thing. Maybe it was a bit of a glitch. I honestly don't know.
That particular boss was my stat check. That was the one where I was like, I cannot win this fight.
Once I loaded back out of it, I'm like, no, not even.
I had to go and do some stuff and level up and upgrade, and it did make a difference. So that there's a balance.
Well, I thought I'd killed the boss, and then she walked down the stairs to me and was like, oh, you're the boss. Right. Yeah. Shit, I thought that thing was the boss.
You're a foot soldier. Oh, okay.
Now there's a big full health, because I'd been a while since I played it, that we had it again quite early pre-release, and I forgot they have health bars and stuff, and I thought I was fighting a boss. It's like, oh, I'm all the way fucked right now, because this isn't happening. Like, Avowed is a terrific game, and Chris Hyde, you absolutely need to play it.
You'll really, really like it, yeah.
Yeah, he's so disappointed.
Sorry.
Fuck it.
I thought
we agree. That's the thing. He's like through gritted teeth. He's all there when he's like, I don't like a game he likes, wild, la la la. But when we're on the same page, he fucking hates it. I mean, to be fair, so do I. But I can't. I'll have to throw my principles in the bin.
Lyle, I've got a question for you, though, obviously, with the Avowed stuff. If that's your favourite off-toilet game at the moment, what's been your favourite on-toilet game?
Oh, God. What has it been?
Sudoku on the phone, I reckon.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about my favourite on-toilet game yet, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Let's not get blacklisted in the first month of existence.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one game before we sort of start to close this first inaugural episode out. I do want to talk about this game a little bit. This is one I don't think anyone would disagree on. Just today, and this is why I'm sort of excited to talk about it, I just finally started 2 Point Museum. What a lovely, lovely, wonderful video game that is.
Yeah,
like, my God, it's so full of charm, but it's also... I've played the previous games and felt pretty much the same. Like, these are great games that people never seem to talk about. Hence why I want to talk about it. But they've added stuff to this that gives it just an added layer of depth, almost RPG sort of stuff. Not quite, Mick, is it?
Not quite.
But like with the expeditions and stuff, you do level up your staff and you do unlock new routes for them to go and find. The whole museum thing of you need to find the artifacts, but you're running the museum, and I think this game is. I worry for it because I have a lot of affection for the 2 Point series because they hark back to like theme park, theme hospital. They've never really pretended otherwise. Like, they're not, you know. I really do like these video games, and like I've meant to play it for a long time, but I've sat down on the PlayStation 5 and started playing it, and I just was like, 2 hours gone. 2 hours just gone. And in a period where you've literally got Monster Hunter Wilds out just before, and like Assassin's Creed Shadows just after, I know that they're not the same type of game at all, but like people have only got so much money, and they're going to be wanting one of these big games, and there's more than just those ones. Split Fiction is pretty much out at the same time as 2 Point Museum, I believe, or near enough thereabouts. What a lovely, lovely video game.
I tell you what, as well, it's so like, and this is for better or worse, but it's so British, and I mean that like it's not, and it's not a game where they've, and it's not one of those games where somebody has like, let's try and seem like we're British. It's incredibly British, and it's like genuinely, I laughed a lot while just playing through the game to review it, and it wasn't because. Like, there's some funny stuff. Like, you can send them on expeditions, they'll come back with a fossilized floppy disk or a dial phone, which I found like that. That gave me a chuckle, right? Every time something like that happened. But there's stuff like the humor, the just dry fucking humor that I would. The Tannoy announcer.
The Tannoy announcer's gold. It always is in these.
Now, I've not played Hospital and Campus, so I presume this is a standard thing that's in the other games, right?
It is,
but the Tannoy announcer, she is golden. Like whoever she is, she's fucking amazing, because she would drop jokes in and I'd be playing and my brain would catch up a couple of seconds
because
after.
you're focusing on the rooms, aren't you, or whatever.
And then
you're like, hang on.
I thought she said, but then she doesn't repeat stuff. Like there's so many sound bites and dialogue lines that it's very rare you hear one repeated. But it's like she'll say, you know, you walk around the museum. If you find yourself bored in the museum, try to remember you're not all that. And I thought like little bits.
There's one where she's just like, don't make this all about you, or something like that as well. Yeah. Please don't make it all about you. Please remember that the prehistoric era is very, very old.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give the game a shout out, really, because it's such a wonderful video game.
3 for 3 for me. Like I reviewed both the others.
Yeah, you did.
I think I reviewed Hospital on the Switch version, and I definitely reviewed Campus. It's just they're so, the British thing is bang on, Mick. It's just like it's that humor and essence of
reminds me of Wallace and
joy.
Gromit.
And it takes me back to Theme Hospital, which is a lovely place in my life when the world was a lot less shit.
Yeah.
And I just loved it, and it always puts me in that bubble, and I love it. So again, I need to find time to get to it, but this is so up my alley.
Oh, okay. Now it's your alley. Okay, right, fair enough.
Yeah, my back alley. I need to find time. Like we were talking about this. Like again, this is one that you'll love, and I was like, fucking hell! Like the games.
It's been a very Chris Hyde start to the year in terms of games, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the Switch ain't out yet.
just not to pour any more on the bonfire that is the games this year so far, but I just wanted to, just because I mentioned to Adam earlier, I just wanted to bring up a game I've been previewing, which has got. I've only just done the preview event. There's no embargo, so we can just talk about it. But nobody is yet, and I don't know why, because it's a game called Mandragora, and it's like so. If you were just to watch a trailer of this game, you would assume that it is a 2D Metroidvania, right? Which it kind of is. It's also a kind of a 2D Souls-like. It's fucking gorgeous for a start. Like I was shocked because I played the alpha ages ago. There was like an alpha thing with like a demo that I played. I think the first demo was a couple of years ago. They've been working on this, the developers, who their name escapes me because I didn't research. I apologize to them. But yeah, this game Mandragora, and I just wanted to sort of bring it to people's attention because it's just really, really good. Like it's out in April, like it's soon, it's coming. It's like April 17th or something. This game comes out. Probably going to be swallowed by the Monster Hunter title update because I think that's around the same time. But like it's just a really good game. Like I said, it looks like a side-on Souls-like. But for one, like it's got difficulty levels. It doesn't punish you for death, but there's a lot of exploration in it. There's a grappling hook. There's those sort of things that would make it like a Metroidvania, but it is a linear. It does have a story. Like there's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of things you have to sort of you find a key, so you go back and get that treasure. But it's a little bit like No Rest for the Wicked. I don't think any of you have really played No Rest for the Wicked, but you might be familiar with it. It's a little bit like that in terms of like its visuals. Like it's really, really good looking game. Obviously, it's got loot. It's got RPG stats. There's 6 classes.
Do you level in it?
Preview. Yes, yeah, you can level.
Do you chill at any point?
There's not a lot of chill.
Just say there is.
Loot level kill is more like there's a lot to fight. But it's got that really good. That feeling when you pick up like a new Metroidvania in particular, or like, do you remember when you played like Salt and Sanctuary? Like, you remember how Salt and Sanctuary felt the first time you played it, and it was like, wow, this is fucking 2D Dark Souls. This feels like any like 3D action game you've played on a 2D plane, and it's really slick. There's a lot of different like weapons. There's like spells and these moves. You got a parry mechanic, and you can your dodge has got iframes like Dead Cells. It's got all that stuff that you'd expect from a Metroidvania. But it's like the developers, we were asking a lot of questions at the preview, and it was like, well, how long is it going to be? And they were like, well, let's it's got a different end. It's got several different endings that you can't get in the first playthrough. Each playthrough is probably going to take you about 40 to 60 hours. And it was like, hang on a minute. What? This is like an indie game, and it's so it's going to be a huge game. It's got a lot of different areas. It's got 6 classes. And they showed the skill tree, and it just seems great. And I know some people are put off by these big skill trees, but the great big massive skill trees. And so everybody was saying, well, how do you respec? And they sort of went, what do you mean respec? If you want to use a skill from another tree, just go spend a point in it. There's no like, do you know what I mean? You've got these, like every class has got its own skill tree. But if you want to go and spend a class, if you pick the fighter, sword and shield dude, but you want to go and use the rogue's poison, just go and like use one of those skills. So I've got this great big, all these big interconnected skill trees. And it's just, I just wanted to bring it to people's attention. I think we'll talk about it more maybe, because I'm going to do a video and we're going to write it up so that maybe next time we're on the pod, maybe I'll be able to discuss it with a little bit more in depth. But it's just something I wanted to bring up because I've been playing. It's the one thing that's been keeping me off Monster Hunter Wilds, if anything has, sort of for the last couple of days. It is really, really good. But I just wanted to bring it up and sort of
in the subject of bringing things up. I also want to mention that on the channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see an Atelier Yumia. Lyle, I've messed it up, didn't I? Atelier Yumia.
Atelier Lumia.
Atelier Yumia.
Yumia.
And that game looks absolutely wonderful. Lyle went to Paris to preview that. And it seems really good, and
it seems wonderful, and I'm excited to review it soon because I need to play more of it. But watch that video,
and that's kind of a nice little segue to sort of say. So we're gonna change things up again, because normally at the end of our podcast stuff we do like a listener questions section. We are gonna do that, but what we're gonna do is on this podcast that you're watching on YouTube right now, you will get just the one question that has been asked that we've picked at random or that seems to work for that episode. The rest of them are going behind a Patreon paywall. Now, I'm sorry if that upsets people, I really am, but to be really clear, we are completely 100% owned and independent by us. Chris White's not here, but him as well, and literally keeps us going and pays for the website to exist. That is where we're at in that respect. And while I want to extend a massive thank you to everyone in the industry who has been helpful, and to obviously the people who are Patreons already, more's always good. So go to patreon.com/lootlevelchill. You can actually see the URL down there-ish. Sort of. I'll never get used to this. There. You can subscribe to us. We're on social media. You can do all that stuff. But the big one is like click the website, lootlevelchill.com, and go to this Patreon down here. That is really important. The podcast is going to be as early as we can give it to you. We want to keep it more frequent in terms of like news. So we're not going to make such a long delay between sort of Patreon and up. So that's why we're giving the listener correspondence section, or whatever we call it now, the loot level questions. Someone do the we need an image. Loot level questions. Is there a word for questions that begins with C? Oh, it's correspondence. Fuck.
Queries.
Damn it.
Loot level correspondence.
That does work though, yeah.
It does, yeah. So this episode I'm gonna ask you guys this question, and it comes from Nick, who is a Patreon. Because again, the idea being, I'm going to ask for questions.
Which
on Patreon.
Nick?
Just says Nick. What video game character would you be willing to join the JRPG party for? The character does not have to be from a JRPG, but what class would they be, and what class would you be to support them?
I've got to help someone.
What? Sorry, sorry. I need the question explaining. I'm cross-eyed. Sorry, what's the JRPG party? If I'm something I've been invited to,
you're going to be joining a party with some other character.
Oh, like a character party. I thought you meant like a balloon and jelly party. Sorry.
No,
right.
Where's the bouncy castle?
No. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm with you now.
Okay.
Tank at the back, dancer at the front, that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's the kind of party.
Yeah. So, sorry. Read it again.
What video game character would you be willing to join the JRPG party for? The character does not have to be from a JRPG. They can be from any game. But what class would they be, and what class would you be to support them?
Jesus Christ.
Ooh.
No, I wouldn't bring in, by the way, to be clear.
What, Mario?
No, I said Jesus Christ.
Oh, bring him, yeah. What about Mario?
Never keep up with Mario, jumping all over the fucking shop.
Yeah, but I always find it weird because, like, in the Rabbids and the Mario plus Rabbids RPG turn-based things, like, they give him a gun. And I thought that was weird. I mean, it's a great game, really fantastic series, but they give him a gun for.
What are you going to do to support him? You just the guy behind carrying mushrooms in a little punnet, or what? What's the?
That's all right.
So a white mage.
It's a living.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably.
I've got to eat.
I think Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah.
I think I'd tag along with Geralt. I think he's macking on the ladies all the time.
Yeah. So what class is he though? What class is Geralt in
he's fighter mage.
The
I
Witcher,
guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
I mean, he's
but
Witcher,
what are you
isn't it?
then?
It's a class on its own.
I'm. Now I want a turn-based Witcher game. Thanks, Mick.
Yeah.
I
think I'd be the ranged guy, I guess, because he's jumping all over the place. Don't want to get too close to him while he's twirling them swords around. I think I'd hang at the back.
Sorry, so just to be clear, your support for Geralt
of Rivia
as he's jumping around is the potential accidental arrow in his legs or back
I'd be taking out.
Surely the support for the Geralt has to be a bard. Surely
sing or play an instrument. No, that's more Adam if he's in the party. You know, Adam could come along.
I'm not taking Geralt. Don't choose mine.
No, I'm just saying as traditional support.
I was inviting you to come along, but good to know where I stand.
Well, can we all be in? I'll tell Geralt. The party then. Well, well, I'm Siri. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you're the blonde one.
That's
yeah. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. I think,
and I think Geralt can't possibly pay attention. We'll call it pay attention to all those ladies. Somebody's got to do that.
Someone's got to shoot from the hip for him.
Do you know when someone says something and you don't really twig it? And then a few minutes later, you're like, did he Mick just say macking on the ladies, right?
Basically, yeah, he wants to be Geralt's wingman. And this whole JRPG
it's completely incidental.
The wayside. He's just like, he wants to go after the women with Geralt. That's what he's saying.
Which is on brand for both, I suppose.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah.
I think the JRPG thing, the JRPG, could have just said an RPG party, because the JRPG threw me, because I was immediately like, well, like
what?
I immediately started thinking at first of JRPG characters.
I know I was doing the same.
Want to be in a party with Clout? You'd be in a party with Tifa, frankly, and I think Barrett could throw a party, but you wouldn't want to necessarily be in a party with Cloud because he's a miserable twat.
You'd be in a party with Aerith, and then the culmination would be you'd hold her fucking hand.
Well, that'd be nice for you. You liked that.
That's fucking
he just
great.
Wants to hold her hand. I would hold Tifa's hand.
Yeah, both hands.
I think the whole question's been completely ruined now. To be completely
honest. It really has. I've got a nicer answer.
Go on then.
Well, maybe not.
Unless anyone else has got any more, let's close this out with your answer, Lyle.
Okay. So in the Castlevania games, one of the enemies you fight is Death. So I'm saying that Death is a video game character as a concept, and I'm going to be in the JRPG party of Death because I believe that Death is probably overpowered, so I'm not going to have much of an issue. And I think if what Death does as a thing is like,
what death does.
Souls, as a living, what death's like role is like I guess. What class is death? I don't know. Just sort of a warrior.
If he had that classic death power, he just has to touch people and they drop.
Yeah.
If he stumbles, don't fucking help him up, or you're done. That's
I don't know about Mick, but I'm just getting Pratchett vibes of.
But what I'm considering
when he goes to high five you, whoa!
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
no, really got me.
Hey, less of that. Yeah, but what I'm thinking is, so Death's going around. He's doing his death duties, killing people. I think what would be nice in the background of that, if I was his colourful shirt-wearing dancer, to make it a little bit, of less somber occasion.
Take the edge off Death.
So your view is, so like when Death's touched someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm dead." You're like, "Yeah, but look at the rubber duckies.
Look at this. It's fun."
I think that's a good idea. I think when the Grim Reaper comes for me, if he's, you can imagine him standing in the like silhouetted lightning behind him, and it's your time, and then Lyle's in the background just fucking.
Yeah, oh, hey, what do you think? It's not too bad, is it? Don't worry. I think we'd make a great team.
Great over here. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
I mean, what better way could there be to finish
No,
the
I think I do you know
it's
what though, I would say, sorry, I know you want to end it, but it kind of just reinforces me hating Lyle, so I'm just going to say it. Like, nothing would piss me off more if I just died, right? Than Lyle going, "Well, sucks to be you. I'm doing a dance. I'm still alive because I'm Death's best mate." I'd be like,
got Lyle's jazz hands at you.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun for me, though, isn't it? For you specifically, like, "Oh, sorry, Chris. I know you can't help with the sight anymore." But...
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Well.
Good question.
I didn't think we'd go to death on podcast 1, if I'm honest. But
I think it was always coming. That is the end of the first ever episode of Loot Level Chat. And to remind you, if you've got this far or found this podcast randomly, that our website is lootlevelchill.com, one word. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. And again, the really important one is patreon.com/lootlevelchill, where you can just join the gang basically and drop us questions like these. If you want to drop a question for the next episode, we will read them in YouTube, but they will still be on the Patreon bonus pod basically. So there we go. Thank you ever so much. Really appreciate everyone being patient with us and everyone's support. It's been genuinely moving, and I don't want to end the pod on that kind of like moment or anything like that, but thank you to I was considering that there's a few people I want to really shout out, but it almost feels disingenuous to shout out individuals at this point.
People know who they are. People know who've helped us, and
that's a cop out, but we're going to take that cop out. I think it's basically.
Aren't we supposed to have a Chris White monologue?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna. Well, okay. Look, I just don't like getting my phone out on the. I could have done it on the PC. Okay. Right, Chris White. Yeah, we thank you for reminding me. Obviously, not Chris White.
You got to do it in his accent, or it's not.
Right. So
or it's not genuine.
Chris wants to say, I can't do that. I'm not doing the accent.
No, don't.
Not on episode 1.
God, please try.
Dear listeners, thank you from the bottom of my heart for those who continue to listen and support everyone at Loot Level Chill. Like, he's not a Geordie.
Why is he Geordie?
Okay,
he started off as a West Country farmer and then went straight to Geordie.
Hang on. No, that's still Geordie.
Still doing it.
Just doing Ant and Deck now.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for those of you who continue to listen and support everyone at Loot Level Chill. That's now he's Brummie.
He's Brummie, yeah.
How do you do
this?
that?
Is closer.
That's kind of closer.
It's closer.
Fuck.
Chris,
hang on. The only way I know to do Northern is to go fuck. You fucking fuck.
That sounded like him. The fuck.
Yeah, that's close.
That's better.
Perfect.
That's how he says fuck.
Dear listeners, fuck. Dear listeners, thank you from the bottom. Oh, this is going to be. This is so emotional.
This is a heartfelt message, and you're just inserting.
Well, undermine the shit out of it.
Well, is it? Let's read it. Dear listeners, thank you from the bottom of my heart to those who continue to listen and support everyone at Loot Level Chill. While I've taken a short break to look after myself, I am forever grateful to those who follow us, interact with us, and make us feel this is all worth it. On that note, I'd like to address a couple of fans specifically. At Ralph Likes Long Johns, thank you, but I shan't be sending you my used underwear. At Rusty Trombone, no, I don't like the idea of bleaching my anus and playing Naked Twister with you. At Sticky Nicky, it wasn't me, and you can't prove anything. Now, with that said, I love you all, and I hope you all enjoy our future podcasts, even when I'm not on it. Love you, XOXO. Christopher White. Fuck off. There we go. That is a podcast for this week. Thank you very much once again to everybody. You'll see us all again soon. Make sure you get to patreon.com/lootlevelchill so you can get the new bonus podcast where we've got some more questions where we talk a bit more about the site, actually, by the looks of it. There's some questions about the name of the site and stuff like that. So we'll see you then. Cool. Or whenever you choose to listen, I guess. Bye for now. Thanks, everyone. Bye.